Last week we were at Rotary Park. Can you guess where I'm at today? Send me an email if you want to guess. Are you reading every day? Make sure to track your reading time on the reading logs, and you can find these reading logs on our website and you can print them. If you don't have access to printing, just contact myself or call the library and we can help you out. Reading logs, make sure you get them turned in by June 30th because the first week of July I will be doing prize drawings. If you need help turning the reading logs in, there's instructions on the website. We also will accept photos that you email to myself, and then you can also scan it in. If you don't want to take a picture, you can scan it and send it, or you can put it in a sealed envelope and drop it in the library's book drop. Just write summer reading log on it so we know what it is when it comes through the book drop. We have a couple new really awesome programs right now. We are doing grab bags at the library. So if you don't know what you want to read, but you want some books, you can call us and we will ask you a few short little simple questions, and then the librarians and people at the library will pick a bag of books for you. And then you can just come and pick them up whenever you get a chance. And then we are also doing take and make bags, and that is a craft bag. There's craft materials and project materials in the bag for one person, so if you have multiple kids, make sure to pick one up for each child. There's a limited supply, so make sure when you call the library to tell us how many you need, and it's a first come first serve, so make sure you get that call in and get those craft bags. And I will be doing a demonstration on one of the crafts that's included in the bag in today's story time. And I'm so glad it's not windy today. Last week was just crazy windy, and last night it rained, so I'm really glad it's not raining right now because our story time is about the weather today. So our first story is called Tap Tap Boom Boom by Elizabeth Bluemill. Tap tap, dark clouds. Tap tap, damp air. Tap tap, cold drops of rain dot hair. Streetcars appear, umbrellas here. Tap tap, tap tap, boom boom. Tap tap, tap tap, boom boom. Crackle, boom. Got a storm? Big storm in bloom here soon. Sky grumbles, rain tumbles, big weather. You better get under umbrella. Boom, boom. That's right. Slam, bang, hold tight to umbrella. Wind whirls, helter skelter. Boom, boom. Tap, 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 tap. Slap feet, shoes flap. Feet wetter? You better go down underground where the water can't get ya, you betcha. Now harder, now faster, big rain side blaster. The subway is shelter. Boom, boom. Downstairs we wait. Folks congregate. We squeeze. Whose feet and knees are these? Hey, hey, watch spray. We get more wet. Tap, 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 boom, boom. See big, big fellow with tiny umbrella? It's yellow. Tap, tap, boom, boom. One girl all fancy, she's late for dancing. Can't wait, fast dash after lightning flash. The storm above makes friends of strangers. We laugh under cover at thunder and danger. Tall lady with poodle sees kid, no umbrella. Hands hers, no words, just a smile as her hello. Two friends descend, huddled close from weather. Wet sides, smiles wide, together is better. Storm ending soon, no tap, no boom. Outside, clear light, bright afternoon. We race upstairs, shake drops off hair. Look up, we cry. Surprise in the sky. Now people scatter through puddle splatter. We wave goodbye. So long, keep dry. Till next, tap, 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 boom, boom. Till the next, tap, tap, boom, boom. And our next story is an older story, and there's movies made from this one. But it has some weather that's not real. What do you think if it rained food and juice from the sky? That would be pretty silly. What kind of food would you like to come from the sky? And this one is called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs by Judy Barret. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we could eat, and Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air, headed toward the kitchen ceiling, and landed right on Henry. After we realized that a flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall-tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Across an ocean, over lots of huge, bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses and trees, and gardens around them, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain, and it never snowed snow. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas, and sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were any leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved, followed by pieces of toast, butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, frankfurters already in their rolls blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles per hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by gradual clearing with a wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove all the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for people's flower gardens. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worst. Chew and Swallow digest. Spaghetti ties up town. Record-breaking pasta fall causes chaos. Traffic snarled in lower intestine street. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day. Oh, that's a stinky cheese. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. And then the next day there were some bruised Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Another day there was pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. On Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some without seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they'd ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get in it, could get off because of the weight, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomach ache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job was too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread, sandwich style, with peanut butter, took the absolute necessities with them, and set sail on their rafts for a new land. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. The bread held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in the new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. They found it odd the food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs. No one ever got hit by a hamburger again. and nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened to it. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we can go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter on top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. The end. So one of the take and make projects for this month's take and make bags that you can pick up from the library is to make a weather spinner. And here's the direction sheet. And you are going to need the direction sheet. You're going to need a paper plate. You're going to need the printout, a glue stick, a brad, which are these little things, and some safety scissors. And I have a helper here who's going to show you how to put it together. So first you want to cut out the circle with the weather on it and cut out the arrows. All right, once you have your 2 arrows cut out and your circle with the weather cut out, glue the circle onto the paper plate. Put them in the middle so that the arrows point out at the weather. And then you want to take your little gold colored brad and poke it through, and you might need an adult's help for this, but poke it through both of the arrows and the paper plate. Okay, so sometimes you might have to poke it through each piece individually to get it through if you can't get it through all at once. Once you get them on, then flip it over and then spread. Okay, and then flip it back over. Now you've got your weather spinner. Then you can look out your window or go outside and see what is the weather like today. And then move your arrows to point to what the weather's like. So today is partly sunny and a little bit windy. It's a little breezy out this morning. So once you've gotten your weather mapped out on your spinner, so you have your arrows pointing out what weather it is, you can use this graph that's on the back of your instruction sheet to graph how many days of each kind of weather that we have for a set period of time. So you could do it for a week, you could do it for 2 weeks. If you want, you can do it for a whole month, but you can use crayons or colored pencils, markers, whatever works for you, and then you mark it off. So color one box for each day that has a different kind of weather. So it is partly sunny today, so color one box in on your graph for partly. So start at the bottom when you're coloring it in. That way you're making what's called a bar graph as you track your weather. All right, and then you can just keep this handy wherever you want, and then just track your weather. And try to track your weather at about the same time every day, because the weather can change throughout your whole day. Have fun, and remember you can pick up kits, take and make kits at the library. Just give us a call and we can provide a kit for you. And this one is about some little animals that get stuck in a storm, and it is called May I Come In by Marcia Diane Arnold, illustrated by Jenny Poe. Rain poured, raccoon shivered, thunder roared, raccoon quivered, lightning flashed, raccoon hid his head under his arms. Being alone on a night like tonight is scary. Raccoon grabbed his umbrella and hurried out the door. Swish, plish, raccoon splashed through the thistle hollow all the way to Possum's den. Possum, old friend, may I come in? Raccoon shouted over the thunder. What bad luck, Possum replied. My den's too small for one your size. Swish, plish, raccoon splashed on through Thistle Hollow, all the way to Quail's brambles. Quail, old friend, may I come in? What bad luck, Quail replied. My brambles are light and you're too wide. Swish, plish, raccoon splashed on through Thistle Hollow, all the way to Woodchuck's hole. Woodchuck, old friend, may I come in? What bad luck, Woodchuck replied. I've only room for one to hide. Raccoon stood shaking in the rain. His umbrella blew inside out. His fur felt wet and spongy. He sniffled as he thought of spending the night alone. Oh, poor raccoon. On the edge of Thistle Hollow, beyond the rain and darkness, he saw a tiny light glimmering and shimmering. Swish, plish, swish, plish, swish, swish, plish. Rabbit, old friend, called Raccoon doubtfully. May I come in? Rabbit opened the door. Behind her, 10 little rabbits hopped and bopped in the raindrops. Never mind, Rabbit, said Raccoon, backing away. Your house is full. What good luck, said Rabbit. Come right in. There's always room for a good friend. Rabbit led Raccoon to a cozy chair. 10 little rabbits hopped and bopped. Rain poured. Raccoon smiled. Thunder roared. Raccoon hummed. Lightning flashed. The smell of carrot stew filled Rabbit's home. Soon a knock sounded over the thunder. 3 voices cried out from the rain and the darkness. Being alone on a night like tonight is scary. Rabbit opened the door to Possum, Quail, and Woodchuck. 10 little rabbits hopped and bopped. Rabbit and Raccoon looked at each other and grinned. What good luck, they said. Come right in. There's always room for all our friends. And that is the end. So sometimes in a scary storm, when it's loud and thundering, it's nice to have a friend to snuggle with, even if it's just a teddy bear. And our last story for today is called Sun by Sam Usher. And Sam Usher has written a lot of books about weather. There's one about snow and one about rain, but this one is about the sun. When I woke up this morning, it was sunny. I couldn't wait to go on an adventure. I said, it's hotter than broccoli soup, hotter than the Akama Desert, and hotter than the surface of the sun. Grandpa said, it's a perfect day for a picnic. So we gathered the necessary provisions, Granddad would navigate. I would be the lookout. He said, let's find the perfect spot. The sun beat down. Granddad said, let's have a rest. And I said, what are we looking for, Granddad? And he said, somewhere picturesque. So Granddad navigated, and I looked out. And I said, what about this way, Granddad? The sun beat down. Granddad said, let's have a rest. And I said, what else are we looking for, Granddad? And he said, somewhere in the shade. So Granddad navigated, and I looked out. I said, what about this way, Granddad? We walked for miles. Granddad said, let's have a rest. And I said, what else are we looking for, Granddad? And he said, somewhere with a cool breeze. So Granddad navigated, and I looked out. And I said, what about this way, Granddad? The sun beat down. I said, look, Granddad, what about over there? But someone else had found the same spot. It's a group of pirates. So we helped them and gathered their provisions. And then we shared the perfect picnic. Back home, once we'd cooled down, Granddad said, if you keep looking, you never know what you might find. I agreed. I hope it's sunny again tomorrow. All right, so that's the end of our story time. So get out there, explore Hutchinson, explore your parks, enjoy the sunshine, or at least a not windy day today. And happy reading. Make sure you get those reading logs turned in so you can win a prize.